So a little help on your 13.4 homework. Let's look at a couple of the questions on here. Here's something like your first problem. It's asking us to determine the number of cycles the sine function shown to the right has in the interval from 0 to 2 pi. So find the amplitude and the period of the function. So the first thing is it's asking for the number of cycles, and that's a full turn around. So we've talked about that in terms of the Ferris wheel. So we get on the Ferris wheel at the bottom, we go all the way up to the top and back down to the bottom. If we kind of stretch that out, this looks like we're getting in on the side right here, and we need to come all the way back around to that side. So we go up to the top, come back down, and that's one full cycle right there. So let's use a different color. That's 1 cycle, 2 cycles, 3 cycles, and 4 cycles between 0 and 2 pi. So that would be 4 cycles. It's also asking us to find the amplitude. So let's take a look at the amplitude for this guy. The amplitude is going to be the distance between the midline, so our midline here, and either the max or the min, and our maximum is right there. So our amplitude is going to be about 5, and the period of the function. So the period is how long it takes to go all the way around. So there's 2 ways to do that. We can look at the graph. So we can come in here and we can see that this is 1 full cycle, and that looks to be about half pi, or pi over 2. So period, we're thinking looks like it's about pi over 2. Another way to do the period is to say that period equals 2 pi over b, where b equals our cycles. Okay, we said our cycles were equal to 4, so that's 2 pi over 4, which also simplifies to pi over 2. So that would be our period for problem number 1. Let's move on and look at another problem. This is something like problem number 2. So problem number 2 is asking us to sketch 1 cycle of a sine curve with amplitude 2 and period of 8 pi. So we can start there with the amplitude. The amplitude needs to go only up to 2. So this one is at 2. This one's at 1, not 2, so we can eliminate that one. This one's at 2. And that one's at 2. So we know B is not an option, but the other ones work. The next thing is period is 8 pi. That means 1 full turn of the circle to go up to the top, to the bottom, and back to where we start needs to be 8 pi. And this one fits the bill. If we check this one out, it has a period of 4 pi. But this one also has a period of 8 pi. So then the question is it going to be A or D? In fact, it's actually going to be A, because D would be a negative sign because it would be reflected across the x-axis. Sine normally starts out going in the positive direction. Okay, so that is problem number 2. You have a couple that are kind of like that. And then we come to problem number 5, which is a new type of problem. And so let's take a look at this one. For this one, it is asking us to find the period of the sine curve and then write an equation. So we know 1 full turn goes up to the top, down to the bottom, and back. So we know that our period of this is pi. When we're taking a look at our equation, we have y equals a times sine of b theta. We're really not going to be looking at phase shifts right now. We can get to those a little later, plus k. And so we need to look at what is our amplitude, what is our b, what is our k. In this situation, our amplitude is equal to 4 because we're coming up 4 from the midline. That puts our midline at 0. And our b value is going to be related to the equation period equals 2 pi over b, We know our period is pi from up here. So pi equals 2 pi over b. Some of you are already saying that b is going to be 2. Let's just prove it. So b times pi to get it out of the denominator. So b pi equals 2 pi. The pi's cancel out, and our b is 2. So then we can just plug those into our equation. Y equals 4 sine 2 theta. We don't really need to do plus 0, so that would just be our equation there. So moving on to the last type of problem that you'll see on your 13-4 homework is going to be like problem 7 and 8. So the problem is telling us to determine the number of cycles of the following sine function from 0 to 2 pi, find the amplitude, and find the period. So number of cycles here is 2 pi cycles. Because b is what comes before pi. So that's just this guy right here. The amplitude is whatever comes out in front. So in this case, our amplitude is -8. And then we would need to find the period. And again, the period is equal to 2 pi over b. And we know that b is 2 pi. So period equals 2 pi over 2 pi, which is equal to 1. And then we would just type those in to the prompts. If you have any other questions on your 13-4 homework, please send me an email. I'm happy to do a Google Meet or a Google Hangout with you to go through some of the problems that you are having. I hope you are all doing well with your time at home, and please do not hesitate to reach out for anything.